Dr. Sابرينا, we're honored to have you on our show, and we're honored to share your story with our audience. First of all, you've been here for 13 years. We're very curious. People would be wondering why leaving Italy with all the benefits and high quality of life and come to a developing country such as Palestine. What brought you to Palestine, and why staying for all those years?
So first of all, the honor is mine, and you are welcome. I came the first time to Palestine in 2004. What brought me to Palestine the first time was, I guess I was around 25 or 26. I was very active in my country for human rights and all of this peace movement, and so I got to know very well what was happening here, and then I decided to come as a volunteer. It was the middle of the second Intifada, and I went to Nablus my first time, and I was serving the Medical Relief Society through an association which is Assopace Italia, and well, the most of our job, it was in the ambulances, and we were also helping. There were a lot of, there were the curfew at that time, so many houses were occupied. We were bringing foods, medications. We were working together with the local volunteers. And I guess that then, you make a choice, you step in, and then it is like a chain, a choice come after a choice, and then you come back, and then you come back again, and then you start a project, and then in the end I found myself here for a long time, and it was a series of choices that brought me to stay until today.
Did you go visit? Did you go back to Italy?
I go to Italy every year, at least once. Although the last 2 years it's been more difficult to move because of new policies for visas for the Israelis that made traveling more challenging. Not to go out, but to come back mostly. Coming back, needs a permission.
Due to visa problems, of course. Yeah. So tell us a bit about your work.
My work, I do work in this center, which is Tecwin Center. I'm the clinical psychologist and psychotherapist. So I am the head of the clinical psychology unit. I make clinical diagnosis for all developmental disorders, this center for children. And so I'm talking about autism, ADHD, learning disabilities, intellectual delays, also anxiety in childhood, depression in childhood. I also work, of course, with the team, because rarely a clinical psychology can work, at least in childhood alone. So we work together building the plan, behavioral and educational plan for children. And then we make, I do psychotherapy. So for children that they have insight, we work to develop their self-esteem, their behavior sometimes, and let's say the rehabilitation for those problems that we found during the diagnostic process.
Let's talk more about psychology. As a clinical psychologist, the suffering of Palestinians living under the Israeli occupation and having to face all the details of the occupation, such as detention, killing, closure, no access of movement, invasion, all these things. How do you think these affect the mentalities of Palestinians?
Well, this is a very sensitive topic the literature about trauma, these are traumatic events. Okay, so the literature about trauma is very much contaminated by a Western perspective of what is trauma. So it's something that starts and then finished. It's been built upon experience of soldiers that goes, make wars in other countries and then come back. But rarely we have been focusing on a prolonged trauma, like what we have here. We're talking about the occupation, more than 60 years. So, I mean, that's for sure something that will affect generation by generation with a generical sense of unsafety. Although I have to say that I've been working with the trauma, and even my last publications, they were all researches that they aim to go deep into how this situation affects. So what I can say is that there is for sure a high level of what is generically being called resilience. I don't really love to call it resilience. I prefer other terms, because resilience is something for engineers, I guess.
Okay.
While what we having here is like agency. It's self-agency, is self protective factors, and there are all of these resources that they are typical just of this situation. So this is what is difficult to generalize in other contexts, that they are also characterized by trauma, because what is happening in Palestine is unique, and there are many factors between these protective factors that I mentioned, like feeling belonging, like hope, like very high political awareness, and also this we call it steadfastness, like we stay at any cost.
Yes.
And this is kind
we call it sumud.
Sumud.
Yes,
Exactly. So all of this, it's something that is typical of here, and we can't generalize it, and that's why I said we lack literature. It is very interesting by a scientific point of view. It is very interesting by a human point of view also. There's a lot to learn here. I like to say that yes, people, they are affected, they are traumatized, but also they are teaching a big lesson. And I still believe that the best therapy for this kind of trauma is resistance.
Wow, amazing. So through our show, we're trying to show internationals who've never been to Palestine the reality of life under occupation. And you've been here for 13 years. How do you describe living under occupation, the Israeli occupation?
Well, there are many things that, unfortunately, after 13 years, I got used to, as everyone else. So I live in Nablus, I work in Ramallah, I come every day, and I pass more than 1 hour, sometimes 2 hours queuing because a checkpoint is closed or a road change is way, or, and I think that I got used in these years of many things, but there are things that they are related to the occupation that they affect our daily life, and we just stop seeing them as something strange, like, for example, traveling from a city to a city and queuing and waiting in the checkpoints. Also traveling for foreign people. There are severe checks even in Ben Gurion airport, but also in the bridge. So that are these are things that, of course, يعني, you have to know before to come to Palestine. The daily living, well, it depends. There are night rides everywhere sometimes. Probably in this period in big cities is less than still in villages. There's a lot of this.
Of course.
But in general, foreign people, if they come visit, it's a story. If they come and live here, there are other challenges, you know. The biggest is the visa, how to stay. So if you come as to work, and I have many colleagues in Beirzeit University that they are they have problems and they've been rejected, and you know, so it's a work visa and it's not easy to be obtained. If you come with your family, you will have a family visa, but also this is a challenge. Myself, I have been in a family visa for 10 years, and then I've been illegal for a couple of years because my visa was refused suddenly. And I made a court with a lawyer in Jerusalem, and for 2 years, every time I go out from Palestine, I have to ensure that I have a permission to come back, which, you know, it makes very difficult to travel. For now, for us, traveling, it's something that is very important because our family or part of our family stays in our countries. So for me, for example, by a terrible chance, in these 2 years that I've been without visa, my mother got sick. She got a cancer.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that.
It was very difficult for me to go and visit her. Because every time I go out, I have to ensure that I can come back. I cannot stay long. I cannot go every time. So it was very painful and very difficult. Also, you know, when you get the permission, it takes a few weeks of preparation between your lawyer, the court, the state attorney. So even when my mother died, there was not enough time to ask to go and to see her in the funeral. So I could not go. These are things that we don't plan when we come here. It's a bit the price that we pay to stay in Palestine.
Of course.
It's a high price sometimes. When everything goes right, it's fine. When we have problems or something happened to our parents, to our friends, then it became, you know, more difficult, our existence here.
Of course.
And there is like a choice, you know, like either your life is here, your work is here, your son, your family is also here, but then there is a part of your life that is still in your country.
Of course.
And in those 2 years, I found myself that I have to choose somehow between my mom and my son and my life here. And it, you know, imagine like, the choice.
You're
how
apart,
difficult.
you're divided.
Yeah.
Why do you think Israelis put these difficulties for foreigners, the visa issues and all the rules and the banning of denying the visa? Why?
Well, you know, I believe that for them, when we decide to come, for the Israelis, when we decide to come and live in Palestine and you know, join and share our life with Palestinian, it's a choice, and we choose, you know, and it's not, I mean, Palestinian didn't choose to be here, didn't choose to be Palestinian, so maybe we even worst because we really aim and wanted to be here. So how can we be welcome?
Yeah. So Dr. Saabrina, when you first came here to Palestine, was there anything, if you remember, anything was considered to you like a strange or weird? Was there a cultural shock you confronted, or was there anything that struck you at the beginning?
Yes.
Tell me.
Well, the culture is different, and I think, consider that I've been always living in Nablus, which is also a very traditional and beautiful city, but I think that the major shock is that I discovered that there were so many things that they were not proper. Proper for a woman. So I even discovered kind of that I used to consider myself a human being, not really defining myself as a woman, or but then no, when you hear, then you know that women cannot enter this place, and women are not supposed to smoke in the street, women don't laugh loudly, women don't dress this, and women don't behave like that. So I had at the beginning a kind of, okay, so I have to rethink myself in what I can or I cannot do. That, I had a lot of help, of course. People were helping me and telling me, but it's been not easy. Plus, of course, when I came here at the beginning, I didn't know much people, and I had also to figure out what I want to do here, because I came with the intention of giving something, and I wanted to do it in what I don't know how to do many things. I'm very humble. I think I'm good in few things, and these were the things I want to do. So what I know how to do is psychology. So this is what I've been trying to do, and in all places I've worked, I've tried to create programs, new programs in clinical psychology, like when I was working in جامعة or creating centers in order to then to implement and to put on the ground clinical psychologists in the proper way, in which has to be done evidence-based and with the scientific approach, and also with a big human approach, because then our patients are.
Do you feel that you achieved what you came for?
The point is that when I finished with something, with a dream, immediately another one comes true. So I don't think I'll never feel that I finished.
How do you see this region in 100 years, and what you hope for?
Well, I want to be optimistic. Okay, so I see that many good things will happen, and people will be able to live with more freedom, and I wish that even as services and as policies, there will be an internal development, and I see that there are many potential to reach these goals. We have to be. I think we have to be brave.
Yes.
And to keep on. I believe that the heroes here are the people that every day wake up, go to work, and stays here and don't leave, and keep on doing his best in the place we are. This is we don't have to make huge things. We have to keep on doing what we are doing, and to make it with dignity.
Yes.
and to keep on showing that what we're doing is valuable.
Yes.
Whatever it is.
It's part of resistance, working, being, making an effort to build this future of our kids also. It's actually part of the resistance and struggle we're doing.
Yeah, it is. And to educate ourselves and to be on the edge of everything, and to see things also. To believe less and to search the truth more.
Of course. My last question for you, what message would you like to deliver to the world, maybe to Italians, Europeans, about Palestinians and Palestine?
I'm very little, to deliver messages to the world. So
deliver a little message if you want.
A little message. Well, I believe that, I deeply believe that every time that we accept to see some injustice and to walk through without stopping and denounce it, that's a kind of loss for everyone. So what I would like everyone to do is to at least stop and say, this is wrong. Mm-hmm. It's very little sacrifice. But I do believe that it's so clear, where is the right and where is the wrong. And it needs just, to put a little effort. Yes. And at least, when we reach talking about human rights, is this difficult to differentiate what is right from what is wrong? I don't think so. We're not talking about ideology. Yeah. We're not talking about religion. We're not talking about politics. We're talking about humans.
Yeah, something obvious.
Something obvious.
Yeah.
So let's have the courage, Yani, to say that this is not going to work. Because every time that we don't do it, it's kind of, we also losing.
Of course.
Every time that we don't pay attention of a war in some hidden place in the world, we also losing. We're losing a piece of our dignity, a piece of our freedom.
Very true. I want to thank you very much for speaking up and standing up for justice. It's very important to have you and people, international people around here, to have the support. It's very, very necessary and important. Thank you very much for sharing your story and being on our show.
Thank you.